Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Forbidden Radio, Season 2, Episode 5. I'm Noah, joined by my co-hosts, Luke and Angel, and we have a special guest today, Miss Ivy Wilde. How you doing today?
How are you?
I'm here, tired after work, so, yeah.
I feel that. I am currently solo parenting 4 children and 2 cats, so I understand tired.
Yes. Yeah, last week our guest he was recording from his car while his wife put their 5 children to bed.
Yep.
May I just ask?
Oh, sorry. Go
Sorry
ahead.
about that. What are your cats' names? I'm curious now.
So I have a cat named Solus, but she doesn't know her name is Solus. She thinks her name is Fat Fat because that's all we call her.
Okay, I get that. Yep.
And then I have Blue, who's a Russian Blue.
That's awesome. I love cats.
Me too.
So Ivy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your chosen genre and why that attracted you?
Genre is fantasy. I've always read fantasy since I was in the 4th grade. And then I don't know, I've just always really enjoyed the genre, and I like other genres as well. Like, I like sci-fi, and I like high fantasy, and I like romance, but fantasy has always been just my favorite.
I mean, that's where I got my start. I first started reading the Shannara series by Terry Brooks when I was just a wee lad, and that's what really got my love of reading going.
Oh yeah, my husband loves those. Like, we have several of them on our bookshelf because he is obsessed with that series. He's trying to get me to read it, and I have not yet.
It's a good series. I really enjoy it. What was your first literary love?
So I read Little Women in the 4th grade.
A classic.
And It was really funny because I went to check it out from the library, and my librarian was like, I don't think you should check this one out. This is a bit thick for you. I'm like, I've got it. So I read Little Women in the 4th grade, and then I started reading a lot on mythology. Like, I was obsessed with Greek mythology, and now I have an 11-year-old who is also obsessed with Greek mythology, so it's come full circle. And then my 6th grade reading teacher started reading us Harry Potter.
Mhm.
And that was like my first break into reading young adult fantasy and things like that.
That's awesome. And I got into Greek mythology from Percy Jackson. That was like my biggest obsession as a kid.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I love Percy Jackson's, but it didn't really come out until I was older. Or
Okay.
I didn't find it until I was older. But I do love it, and my 11-year-old loves that series.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say if your kid loves Greek mythology, you should definitely get him to read it.
Yes, she is obsessed. She's read all of them, and she is working on the Heroes of Olympus books now.
Oh, those are even better.
They are. They're really good.
I mean, if you're going to get mythology, Greek mythology is the place to start. It's like family drama all over the place.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I'm also like a world history. Well, I was a world history teacher until recently. We moved to Hawaii. So I got to teach Greek and Egyptian mythology, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like
You
fun.
live in Hawaii?
Yes, I live in Hawaii.
Wow, very cool.
miss-
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was saying I miss seasons.
Oh yeah. Oh, I bet.
Well, I live in South Dakota, so the season here is either dry and cold or dry and slightly less cold.
Well, yeah, I'm originally from South Mississippi, so I'm aware.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, I'm from California, so I have the opposite problem. It's either hot or slightly less hot.
Same.
Yeah.
All right.
I wanted to bring up your. Sorry,
Luke,
Go
you
ahead.
started.
Just
You
talk
go
over
ahead.
each other all the time. This is what happens when you have 3 hosts that all have symptoms of ADHD. We just talk
Yeah.
over each other. It's fine.
Yeah, I also have ADHD that is unmedicated. But
Perfect. We can all talk over each other and hope the neurotypicals can figure it out.
Angel, you were talking first. You go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna bring up your debut novel, which is coming out soon, right?
Yes, it comes out April 15th, but I have a lot of art copies going out on March 15th.
Awesome, and it's called Beguilded.
Beguiled, yes.
Beguiled. Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was
No,
saying
it's
that right.
fine.
And so it's a romance fantasy novel.
Um, Technically, yes. Technically, it's fantasy romance, which is only a picky thing that I do because I'm working on my master's in creative writing. So it's like a fantasy novel, but it has a romance subplot versus like my entire book is romance, and I just have fantastical elements.
Okay, yeah. No, I respect it. I respect the differentiation. Also, congrats on getting your master or working on your master's.
Thank you. This is actually my second master's. I have one in curriculum and instruction, and this one will be my second one in creative writing.
That takes a lot of dedication to do that much schooling and
Yeah.
teach people on top of all of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my husband keeps telling me that I'm just never going to stop going to school because I'm planning to apply for a doctorate program after this.
Oh wow.
And I'm just like, yeah, you knew what you married.
Well, you never really stop learning, or at least you shouldn't.
No, you don't.
Do you?
So what
Yeah,
can you
no,
tell us about Beguiled?
Yeah, there you go.
So it is very like I started writing this 10 years ago. I was pregnant with my son who is now 9. And I was obsessed with Holly Black at the time. So I was like, I want to write a book about fairies, you know? And then I started. And then life got in the way and I had lots of children. I have 4. And then I just did not have time to write and I sat it down. And then when we moved to Hawaii, the kids are only in school from 8 to 2. And there's a school bus now. They didn't have one when we first moved here, and it's kind of just impossible for me to find a job when my husband's in the military that is flexible enough that I can get the kids to and from school and then also take off anytime they're sick. So we decided together that I would stay home and focus on my master's and writing. And it is, I would say, like level 3 spicy of a book. It isn't like
Out of like 5 or out of 10?
out of 5.
Okay.
Level 1 would be like no spice at all to me. Level 2 is like some spice, but closed door spice.
Mm-hmm.
Level 3 is it is open door. I'm so sorry. So it's open door, but it is mild open door. It is not like just full on. Yeah. So it is about the Fae realm, and I focus a lot on Scottish mythology with the Seelie and Unseelie court, and I also added in some Irish mythology to it. But I did a lot of research on the actual myths and included that in my book, which I really enjoy.
Oh yeah, Irish and Celtic mythology is absolutely fascinating.
It is, and a lot of my ancestry is Scottish, so when I figured that out, I went into like a whole rabbit hole of researching it. And I've always like loved fae and fairies and all of that, so it was just right up my alley when I started writing this book.
So
Yeah, you
does
mentioned.
Beguiled Go ahead, Angel.
I was just gonna say you mentioned Holly Black. She's the one that wrote Spiderweb Chronicles, right?
Yes, and that was the first ones I read from her, and I read those in high school, I want to say. But what I was obsessed with was her books, Tithe, Ironside, and Valiant.
Okay, I've never heard of those.
But
I was just a Spiderwick nerd when I was a kid.
yeah, they didn't gain the same popularity in like the fantasy romance realm as her like Cruel Prince series did.
Yeah, those I have heard of.
But those were like the original. They're so good. I love them.
So does Beguiled take place in like our world and the fantastical elements are related to the Seelie and Unseelie Fae? Or does it or did you create your own separate fantasy world and just incorporate elements of that mythology into it?
So it starts in the main like present day. She is just kind of going about her life. She's in her 20s, she is a bartender, and then all of a sudden, she is kidnapped to this, Fey realm, and she suddenly gets handed a whole lot of responsibility because she's supposed to be queen, but she lost her memories. She has no idea what's happening, and she's just kind of navigating that.
So who is your main protagonist? How would you describe her?
Her name is Talia. She is very fiery. She is independent, strong-willed. But she also kind of had like a bad home life because it's sorry, my brain went blank. She started out with not really having parents because obviously she's actually Fae, and she was put into the mortal world because she lost her memories. So she was supposed to be taken care of by someone from the Seelie court who was supposed to care for her, but they abducted her in the process and were holding her, and keeping her put to the side until she came of age to take over.
That's sick.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. So what kind of themes or tropes would might people see in your book?
So there's enemies to lovers, which is probably one of my all-time favorites. And then it's also a love triangle. And I also threw in like fated mates to have fun with that. But there's also a lot of like murder and stabbing. So it's
Well,
kind
it
of
is
like a
the Fae.
suspenseful fantasy romance.
I mean, it is the Fae. There's going to be betrayal and backstabbing involved.
Exactly. You can't have a book about the Fae without it.
No, that's what makes the Fae so interesting. It's all the politics and, being very, very succinct with how you word things.
Yes, that is probably one of my favorite things.
Have you ever heard of a series of books by Jim Butcher called The Dresden Files?
I have. I have not read them. My husband also is wanting to start those, and I think we're gonna try to read them together because it's something that we would both be interested in.
You would probably like that. He delves into a lot of the Seelie and Unseelie courts in those books as well, and it's a really entertaining series that I think you would probably enjoy.
Very nice. We'll have to add that to my very long list of things to read.
I know
Oh, I
the
felt that.
TBR gets longer and really hardly ever goes down.
Yep.
It never does.
I have a question.
I tried reading the Dresden Files, but the first book was kind of odd. I feel like the writing style. It wasn't really for me.
Listen, you're not the only one. It's a pretty famously not great book.
Yeah,
Like
that's what I've heard because I looked it up. I was like, no way this book is so famous and it's this poorly written. Or it just felt like I don't know, the way he was like describing certain stuff and women especially. I was like, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, the series does not really hit its stride until book 3, and the author will absolutely openly admit that.
Okay, gotcha. All right, go ahead. Noah.
My husband is reading Sherlock Holmes right now, and he's like, "Wow, this is very problematic. It's good, but problematic."
I just reread a fantasy series that I loved when I was a kid, and I reread it. I actually listened to the audiobook as an adult, and I was like, oh, there's some things in here that just would not fly these days.
Yeah, it's a lot of things just they do not age well and it was so normalized when you first read it that it didn't like occur to you to be like, "Oh, this isn't great." But then when you're an adult and you're like, understand things a little bit better, you're like, "Oh, I'm wow."
Yeah, this one particular thing, like it was a knight, and he was banished from the land when the king died, and like the religious leader took over and installed like a just a puppet king, and he was the main bodyguard and protector of the princess, who was like 8 or 9 years old, and she fell madly in love with him when he was like in his late 20s, early 30s.
Oh God.
And she
Wow.
still loved him when she was a 17-year-old, 18-year-old girl, and came back, and she actively pursued him throughout the book, and eventually he just kind of gave in, and I was like, yeah, the grooming just, I mean, he's not actively grooming, but like it's there, it's present.
Yeah.
There's things happening.
Yeah. As a mom of 3 girls, I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
that strong ick vibes. You kind of have to like put that to the back of your head. Like it was a different time. Like this is supposed to be a medieval kind of story. Maybe that kind of shit flew back then, but it's just put it to the back of your mind. Don't think about it too much.
Yeah, that's how I felt
mean,
reading Game of Thrones.
I was about to just mention Game of Thrones. I was like, yeah, it's kind of like Game of Thrones. You have to think about like the time period and
Yeah.
understand that to enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
So, what are some of your favorite book recommendations, whether they be from like traditional publishing or indie publishing?
So actually, let me pull up my January to I just finished Ren in the Holly Library, which was really good. I also am reading The Spell Shop, which is really good. It's very cozy fantasy. Right now my brain cannot handle the high fantasy, so I've been reading a lot of either cozy or, easy fantasy.
I get that.
And then also Phantasma was like super good. I was in a really big reading rut when I started Phantasma because was waiting for Onyx Storm to come out, and I've been having a hard time reading anything else because I wanted to read that.
Okay. So I have to ask. I see Onyx Storm everywhere, but I have no idea what it's about.
Oh, okay. So it starts with Fourth Wing. They are at a war college that they learn how to become a dragon rider. There's 4 different quadrants. They have infantry, they have the healers, they have the scribe, and then they have the dragon riders. And there's a lot of stabbing, and Rebecca Yarros is very she is not shy about killing off characters that you love. So the entire series is an emotional storm, honestly. I cried a lot, and I met Rebecca Yarros because we both lived in Colorado, and I'm obsessed with her right now, honestly.
Wait, that's cool that you met her.
Yeah.
Did you get a signed copy of her books?
I have a signed copy of Fourth Wing because the other 2 weren't out when I met her.
Okay. I tried reading Fourth Wing. I got recommended it by a coworker. He was like, "Dude, you gotta read this. It's really good." And I gave it a try. I read a couple chapters, and I was just like, "It's not for me." But I can see why people like it.
That's fair. Like I've heard some people say it's like, yeah, it's not my favorite, and some people say the same thing about Akatar. And I read those books before they even like got popular on like Book Talk. I read them years ago, and then they came up popular on TikTok and Instagram, and I was like, oh, they have new ones. I can read those now. So that was a big thing, and I love them. Sarah J. Maas is another one of my favorite authors. I will read anything that Holly Black publishes. Because Holly Black is like such an artist with her words. I find a lot of fantasy romance that I'm reading, or even just fantasy, it kind of feels flat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does it feel samey?
Yes. It doesn't have the same depth as it used to, in my opinion, but not all of it. Obviously, I've read some great things recently, but some of it I'm just like, I don't know. So I read Guild, which was very highly recommended on Book Talk, and I enjoyed the story. The plot was there. The story was great, but the writing just kind of felt flat, I guess. But I've heard that the other books get better, so I might give the second one a chance.
Would you say it was
Yeah.
the characters that were flat, or just like the writing style, like the prose?
The prose.
Okay.
The character was great. Because you're supposed to have like the character's supposed to seem kind of one-dimensional at the beginning. That was on purpose. So
Okay.
that I was fine. Because she has like a whole bunch of character growth throughout the series. It was the I don't really want to like spoil the book, but it seemed like she was trying to do like a plot twist and like throw stuff out of nowhere, but it didn't have like any
Like any
build up to the
setup?
plot.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you're just like, where did that come from? That should have been mentioned like 3 chapters ago at least.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of common in books that try to have like a really like crazy plot twist where it's like you just didn't set it up at all. So of course it's gonna seem like a plot twist.
Yeah, of course it's a twist. I had no idea it was coming.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. I guess I am kind of doing book recommendations.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, you're fine. Talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, I tend to go off on tangents. It's
We
the
all do.
ADHD.
The ADHD. Yep.
It's the ADHD. Blame it on the ADHD.
Ivy, this podcast is just for you to
Um,
like just like speak your mind, get it, get it out, So
I do appreciate you guys having me on. I was very excited. I was like, yay, I get to go talk to people.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
thank you so much
we're
for
really
coming on. Thank
excited
you
to
for being
talk to
interested.
authors. Like it's been really cool. Like you're a third guest,
uh-huh.
and we have really enjoyed like listening to other people's writing experiences and hearing about their books and their processes and their recommendations. Just like whatever whatever particular tangent we go on. I think our last episode we went off on a tangent about Goosebumps, didn't we, Angel?
Yeah. That was a good talk.
My son loves those books.
They're great books. They're timeless, I feel like.
Actually,
They really are.
speaking of timeless books, have you guys read Animorphs?
I
Yeah.
think I read a couple when I was younger.
Yeah, dude, those
I
books are
didn't read
insane.
them, but I watched the show.
Oh yeah, the show. It's been a long time. The
I feel
special
like I
effects
aged
were
myself a
something.
little bit.
Yeah, the books, if you can get your hands, okay, I think they're audiobooks now too. They're being published as audiobooks. It's a coming of age story, but it's a war story disguised as a coming of age story. It is so good. These children are thrust into an intergalactic war, kind of like the Power Rangers, and it's just
Yeah.
it's so good. I think you guys need to either listen or read them. Like, just get into the series. It's so good. It's like a TV show. I mean, I know it was made into a TV show, but the way it's written, it plays out like a TV show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, that's my tangent.
So Ivy, is Beguiled going to be a standalone novel, or are you planning a series?
Duet as of right now, so there'll be 2. In my first book, Beguiled, Talia, who's my main character, has a brother, and he kind of goes on a mission in Beguiled, and he brings back a woman who was like an assassin for the Unseelie Court. But she wasn't treated well, and he kind of rescued her and brought her back, and she ended up going on their side. And in the second book, it is going to follow those 2, and they go on another mission.
Awesome.
I like that.
Good. Have you already started plotting out the second book then?
I have a name, and I have a cover idea, and I have a general plot line, but that could also change a lot.
Hey, that's a
Do you
start.
have a name for Talia's brother?
His name's Rainier.
Okay. I was hoping his name was Jason, like in Percy Jackson, because there's a character named Talia.
Oh,
So would
yeah,
you-
I did.
You go ahead. You finish your thought.
Oh, and then I also have another one that I'm hoping to release in October, but it might be later, called Witching Hour, that is coming soon-ish this year. It's coming out this year. It's called Witching Hour, and it is about a witch she is at this magical academy, and it's time for them to choose the next generation of the Grand Coven, and she has to go through like 5 different trials, and it covers the trials and then the end and all of her family's expectations and all of that fun stuff.
Oh, that sounds
Wait.
really cool. I like that
I
idea.
love that. I had written something similar for or not written. I had plotted out something similar for a book that I was writing. I never really got to it, and it wasn't going to be like the main focus, but it was going to be like one of the side characters was going to join like a grand coven like that, and she was also going to go through like a bunch of trials like that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that is
Very
sick.
nice.
I have a question, Ivy.
Yes.
So I always like to. Okay, actually, let me reformat this question. I feel like Greek mythology, Roman, Egyptian mythology, it's kind of overrepresented in media. And I'm an Hispanic man, and I like to write about like the Aztec gods, the Mayan gods, all that. And I always like to pick the minds of people who use mythology in their stories that aren't like overly represented in media. I was just wondering, like,
Yeah.
I know your the family lineage was like a factor into using what you're using, but like, what inspired you to use this mythology in your series, like, other than the family aspect, I guess?
So what inspired me really was because I've been obsessed with this mythology for forever.
Mhm.
It is one of the first things I got into, reading about fairies and reading about the different kinds of creatures. And and you mentioned Spiderwick Chronicles also. I loved those, even though I didn't read them till high school. So that was kind of my inspiration for all of it was the mythology. And then I started thinking like, oh, what was really happening is I was looking for a hobby because I had two children. She was 2.5 and 1, I think, and I was pregnant with my son.
Mhm.
And I was going like through super bad postpartum depression from having my second child.
Mhm.
And then I was also pregnant with my third, and the depression was like really bad. And I was like looking for kind of like an escapism thing.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I need a hobby, and I can't just like stare at a book all day because I have children to take care of.
Yeah.
So I was able to like plot during the day and then write at night.
Okay.
You did bring up like the Aztecs and things like that. I have a writer friend
Uh-huh.
who her book is based on that mythology as well.
Ooh, sick.
Her name is Amelia.
Okay.
Let me find her actual name. She does fantasy, and what is her actual name? Because I was thinking about her. It is called The Tournament of Heirs
Okay.
by Amelia Perez.
Tournament of Heirs?
Yes. Her book is like on my to-do list because that's another thing I taught like as a history teacher. And a lot of my students were Hispanic because I taught in like southeastern Colorado.
Uh-huh.
Um, and they really enjoyed that section, and I was able to do a lot with it because they were so interested in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I see it. Luke just put it into the chat. Yeah,
Yes.
I feel like there's kind of a I don't know the exact word for it, but like bias against like South American, Central American mythology because like you hear in history, oh the Aztecs, they did sacrifices and all that stuff, but it's way more than that.
Yeah.
There was a beautiful society there, and also with the Mayans too and the other tribes. There's so much beauty and there's so much untapped storytelling with those pantheons and that mythology that I feel like we could really benefit from learning from that. And it's just, I mean, it's hard to say their names. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
But I mean, I feel like movies like Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, with their use of Namor turning him into a Mayan indigenous person, was actually a really good way of kind of opening the dam, not just for like Aztec mythology and all that Mayan, but like for other less represented pantheons and mythologies for media, So
Yes. I absolutely love that is getting more mainstream
Mhm.
because honestly, that is one of my favorite sections to teach when I'm teaching history because it is so interesting, and you have to look at the fact that they were so far removed from all of the other civilizations of the time, yet they were just as advanced as all the others.
yes.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the others, they were all very close to each other. They had these trade routes. They had like trading information. They had all of this where they were able to interact with each other and develop fast. But then you had the others who, like the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Incas, they didn't have a lot of interaction with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But the Incas built like a gigantic road system. The Aztecs had probably one of the best army, like one of the best militaries of ancient times. But unfortunately, they were mostly just taken out by disease.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then also the terrace farming, like that was a huge development in agriculture, and you just don't hear about all of these things unless you're, learning about it or teaching it.
Mhm.
And it is amazing what they did, considering how far removed from other civilizations they were.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
we
when
have
it
a
comes,
very narrow focus of history, and it takes a lot to delve into like the different cultures and how extensive the history is. Like when you learn world history, it's mostly like Eurocentric history when you're
Yep.
learning world history,
Yeah.
but there's so much depth around the world that just gets kind of like pushed to the side. And there's just a lot more to see there, and it like history is absolutely fascinating. I used to only be interested in the various wars of the world when I was younger, but seeing how all the different dynamics play into each other, and like you said, like in in Europe there was a lot of like almost like cultural contamination, like they were all very closely intertwined with each other through trade routes and things like that, and the societies that grew up in a more isolated setting just don't get the attention that they deserve, as far as like learning the history of the world.
Yeah, I'm a huge history nerd, but I prefer ancient history. Um, when I was teaching, I stopped at feudalism. That was like my last unit when feudalism started in Europe. But we mostly focused on Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Chinese dynasties, and then the Mayans and the Aztecs and Incas.
that's one
Yeah, I took
mythology that. Oh, sorry, Andrew. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I took a history course last semester. That was like that what you just said. It was like ancient civilizations, and then we stopped also at feudalism, and it was really cool to learn about like the Mayans and the Aztecs, even though we only covered them like briefly. But because I've been to Yucatan, so I've seen like the pyramids and stuff, and the tour guide was like explaining to us the history and stuff. So it was really cool to get to see that in the classroom and get to learn more than what I already did.
That sounds really cool. That is on my bucket list of places I want to travel. But we probably won't be doing that until we're stationed back on the mainland because Hawaii is very hard to fly from.
I can imagine. I got to see some ancient ruins in when I was in Guatemala, and it's just impressive. I mean, it was really sad to see how much it had degraded over time due to not being properly maintained. But even the things that were left, it's absolutely awe-inspiring to see what they were able to build.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just like that feeling of like humans have been around so long, and like the stuff that we've built as a species is really cool.
Yes, I agree. History and English have always been my favorite subjects, and I was really I felt very lucky to have gotten to share that with like upcoming students and trying to make it interesting for them because a lot of students are like, oh, history.
Yeah.
It depends on how you teach it. I have no doubt you made it pretty fun and interesting. But like the way because my cousin, he's 16, and he came up to me, he's like dude, I know you were really into history, but like what what got you interested, like what kept you engaged? I'm like, I didn't know at the time, dude, but I guess I'll tell you now. Just look at it as one big meme. It's all kinds of just really just dumb crap happening, but just really cool stuff happening at the same time. It's like a movie. History is just
Yeah.
one big dramatic comedy, and it's so interesting. There's plots happening that interweaving with each other. People are stabbing each other in the back, but there's also fun human moments too that are happening. So I tell them, just look at it as one big like meme, and it kind of helps. If you give like a comedic slant too. So
Yeah.
good to know. If I ever go back to teaching high school, I will have to use that.
Yeah, especially now.
History through memes. So as a history nerd, Ivy, what is your favorite bit of like lore that you share with people that isn't really common knowledge?
That's a good one.
That is, let me think about that for just a second.
While you're thinking about that, I just want to put it out there. Chinese mythology needs to get more represented. There's so much good stuff in that side of the planet. I was playing this game called Total War, Three Dynasties, about like Chinese history, and it's pretty sick. A lot of cool stuff happening there.
Oh, okay. I thought of a little piece of thing, and then I will come back to the Chinese history needing to be more represented. When you brought up the Chinese history, I was like, oh, did you know that when legalism became popular, they used to bury their librarians alive to keep them from sharing previous works of history.
No.
Oh, jeez.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
I thought modern times were hard for librarians.
Right. So basically, I don't remember his name right now, but the Chen Dynasty took over, and it was taking over from the Han Dynasty, and they wanted to switch everyone to legalism. And so, therefore, it was illegal to talk about the Han Dynasty. It was illegal to write about it. And if you did write about it or learn about it, you were buried alive or sent to work on the Great Wall.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Sent to the wall like Game of Thrones.
Well, clearly somebody still continued to talk and write about it because we know about it to this day.
Yeah, good point.
Yes. Someone risked their lives to carry on into now. So that is interesting to know.
Did you guys also know that Matt Damon was in China in ancient times? He fought aliens at the Great Wall.
That's a deep cut that I don't think Angel's going to catch on to.
What?
No.
It's from the movie Great Wall. I've seen that one.
Oh, you've seen
Okay,
that
so
movie,
you've seen
huh?
the Great
I
Wall.
watched it in theaters and
You
I
watched
loved it.
it?
I watched.
I like
Yeah.
how, okay, Ivy, so we have a running bit here where Angel hasn't watched anything or played anything or heard anything, you know, in terms of like just pop culture. But then he'll bust out randomly with like the Great Wall. And it's just like, all right, man, you know, this is why we're friends.
Yeah, no, I was on a call with Armani, one of our bosses here at Forbidden Origins the other day, and he was like, okay, I gotta run. Me and my wife are gonna go watch Outlaw King. I'm sure you've never heard of it. And I was like, Outlaw King, I love that movie. It's like the one about Scotland against the English.
Yes.
With Robert the Bruce. And I've seen it like twice. I love that movie. But he was like, how have you seen that and not like Star Wars or Dune?
Yeah.
I have not seen either of the movies that y'all just mentioned. I have watched Star Wars, like all of them. But I haven't watched Dune, and my husband keeps trying, but he says he keeps falling asleep during it.
Nah, I
Oh,
can see
God.
that happening. Like, I understand because Dune is 60s old sci-fi before Star Wars. So
Yeah.
they did a good job making picking up the pace in the movie. But like just the book itself, it's hard to get through too, you know? So I get it. I
Yeah.
get him falling asleep.
Well, he also only really gets the chance to have the TV to himself, like after we've all gone to bed, because he's a night owl.
Mhm.
And we have a tyrant 3-year-old who takes over the TV during the day. And then I take over the TV when I'm folding laundry. So he only gets the TV after we've all gone to bed. And then he's like laying on the couch trying to watch it, and then he just falls asleep. And I find him at like 4 o'clock in the morning on the couch, and I'm just like, all right, okay.
Sounds like my dad. Ivy,
I don't know.
what are you currently watching right now? If you're currently watching anything at all.
So right now I'm not really watching much. I'm on my weekly shows. This sounds silly, but my weekly shows that come out like once a week on Hulu are what I watch to fold laundry, and it is kind of like my incentive to fold laundry. So I watch right now I'm watching High Surf Rescue.
Uh-huh.
And I started watching that because it's actually set on the North Shore, which is where I live in Hawaii.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm finding a lot of cute little restaurants from that show, and I'm just like, oh, that's actually a place.
Oh, so they shoot on location?
Yes, they do, and it's really cool. So that's why I'm like watching it right now.
So
And
you just
then
need to work your way into the background of one of the episodes, maybe with a copy of your book in your hand to hold up to the camera.
Genius.
that's a great idea. I should try that. And then I'm also watching Law and Order SVU, which is weirdly one of my comfort shows.
Mm-hmm.
My
That's a good
husband
show.
makes fun of me because he watches I do not watch horror movies. I will
Me
not
neither.
watch or read horror. I do not like it. I am a baby. But
Well, you know
what I
what?
will watch,
Podcast over.
but what I will watch or read about is serial killers and true crime. And he's like, this stuff is real that you are watching or reading. I am watching and reading fake horror things. And you think my stuff is scary?
Okay, yeah,
You know-
I have that same thought process because I also don't like horror, but I also don't like true crime. And my mom, she also doesn't like horror, but she loves true crime. And I'm like, that's more scary than the horror because it's actually possible
Yeah.
like to happen to you or anybody you know. So that's,
You know,
that's more scary for me.
Yeah, you guys aren't alone in that. There's a lot of people that I've talked to online because I'm a horror author. I publish horror books mostly right now, and there's a lot of people I've talked to that are like, "Ooh, horror!" Like, no, I'd rather watch my true crime shows, but I won't do horror. And I was like, "Well, okay." And then it just kept on happening like more and more. And I'll see people all the time, and I'll talk to them, and they'll be like, "No, like I've got no problem watching Dahmer, but I'm not gonna watch Scream." I'm like, "They're okay. Hey, whatever floats your boat."
Yeah, I don't know. My husband has put down like because my husband's in the military. I don't think I've like mentioned that yet. But he's told me I can't listen to my true crime stuff while he's gone. I'm sorry, that's my 3-year-old. I can't listen to my true crime stuff while he's gone because I get paranoid.
Oh, okay. I get that.
I mean, that's fair. It's fair.
Because a lot of times I'm alone with like 4 children, and I'm just like, oh goodness, I'm so sorry. I don't know if y'all can hear that. I'm gonna mute really quick.
You're good.
Oh,
Don't worry
good.
about it.
You're, take care of the 3-year-old.
Yeah,
The
kids come
3-year-old.
first.
My teenager has her right now because I have a 13-year-old too. But she is also kind of like a demon. So she when she wants what she wants.
She won. Yeah. Is this the same 3-year-old that's the TV tyrant?
Yes, it is.
Established character.
Yep. We call her the Goblin Baby.
Okay.
Oh no.
Because we were driving through Goblin Valley. I think it's in Utah. We were on our way to Disneyland from Colorado, and we saw Goblin Valley, and we are like, "Oh, look, we have found the land from which Evie hails, and we are going to return her to her homeland."
That's hilarious.
Oh man. Oh, see, now I'm looking up Goblin Valley State Park, and it is not the type of goblin that I was thinking of.
No, it's not. We want to go hike there just so we can like take her there and be like, "Look, we took you back to your homeland,"
There
and
you go.
when she's here, we can show her this.
You are now among your people.
Yes.
You just need to
She
get
is,
her to watch the Labyrinth so she can see the Goblin King.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the youngest of 4. My oldest is 13. My second oldest is 11, and then I have a 9-year-old boy. He is the only boy. And then
Oh,
the
Lord.
3-year-old girl. And she is the spiciest of all of them. And she is also like ridiculously smart. And that is not a fun combination because we put up baby gates in our new house, and it took her 2 hours to learn how to unlock them.
Oh my god.
And then
Yeah.
she learned how to use the baby-proof doorknobs.
Oh jeez. Yeah, she sounds like
And
she's gonna be a handful.
Mm-hmm.
And then she learned how to undo the deadbolt on the front door
Oh
and
my
take
god.
off running.
Oh no.
Wow.
That's terrifying.
My little sister.
You're-
It is.
So she's a little escape artist.
She is. And I was trying to get ready to take a bath one day. And I was trying to get her to come take a bath with me. I was like, "Come on, Evie, let's go get in the tub." She's like, "Okay, I just have to grab something really quick." And then I noticed she was like taking a minute. I'm like, "Evie, come on, let's go get in the tub." And she's like, "Just a minute." And then I hear her from downstairs. And I'm like, "Why are you downstairs?" And then I hear the door open, and I'm getting ready to get in the tub.
Oh,
So I have to like throw on my nightgown really quick and run after her in broad daylight.
Oh my god.
She heard bath and she took off.
She did. She normally loves bath time. I don't know. She just wanted to run. Like I feel like she just wanted me to have to chase her down in my nightgown.
Just in a rebellious mood.
She just wanted to get a little bit of sweat on before she washed it all off. Wanted to earn that
Exactly.
bath.
that's awesome.
She has this little balance bike that she is really fast on.
She just takes off in it, huh?
Yes, she does. And I have to send like the big kids after her because they have bikes and they can catch her.
Oh, smart.
See, when I was a kid, my parents just kicked me out of the house and I would just disappear for hours on end.
See, I don't kick mine out, but mine do, like, they will go outside and I will not see them all day. Like, there are times they didn't even come home for lunch, and I'm just like, "I made y'all lunch. Are y'all gonna come eat?" And they're like, "We'll be in a little bit." I'm like, "How are you not starving?
It's that little
Don't
kid
tell people I'm not
metabolism.
feeding you."
Oh yeah. No, I was the kid that was just in the house all day because I grew up like in the middle of nowhere, just surrounded by farmland. So there was nothing to do, nowhere to go. Like all my friends lived like far away, so I couldn't just walk there. And my parents were always at work, so I had no one to drive me. So I was just at home reading books, watching TV. That was my childhood.
See, that's me. I was a very quiet child. I, like, read all the time. I stayed inside. I stayed in my room. And then I expected, at least one of my children to be like that. But no, none of them are.
See, I got a little bit of both. Like I would stay home and read books and everything, and then my parents would like kick me out of the house and like, go out, be a kid, go play. And then I would come back home like 6, 7 hours later, and all my clothes would be covered in mud and dirty. And be like, "What happened?" I'm like, I don't know. It just happened. I just got dirty. I don't even know. I'm sorry. All my
Oh,
clothes are
actually,
ripped up.
that was one of my obsessions as a kid, was just like playing in the mud. Cause like we had like I think like 20 acres or something. So I would just like run out, take the hose with me, just start playing in the mud, and then my mom would always yell at me when I got back because I just track mud into the house.
Yeah, also, I lived on like 3 acres of land, but I also lived like in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi. And I didn't like have a whole lot of friends around. But my children, they've only lived on military bases. So we all have park. All of our houses have had a park in our neighborhood. There's tons of kids. So they don't realize how lucky they are that they can just walk outside and they have a friend to play with.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
And it's very safe because it's a base.
Yes, that I do like. Even though I'm still like a little like I'm like, all right, inside at 6 p.m., not 6:05, 6. And then my son broke his arm a few
Oh.
weeks and no, he broke his arm right before Christmas break.
Damn.
He was trying to jump from one of those metal like transformer boxes to a tree
Oh
to
god.
try to climb the tree because it didn't have any like lower branches. And he missed.
Oh no.
Yeah, that happens. When I used to have a friend that I hung out with when I was younger, and we got really into like Warhammer and a lot of fantasy games. So we decided to create our own like ranking and level system, and we created different tasks that you had to do to attain them. And I remember one was jumping out of a 20-foot tree.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
And we did this to ourselves. I refused to do it. He did not, and he broke things.
Oh lord.
Oh, you are giving like my mom heart anxiety. Like,
Oh,
but yeah, I was just like, he came in and he wasn't even really crying too much. He's just like, my wrist really hurts. I'm like, what did you do? And he's like, I fell. He's like, I fell off the transformer box. And then I hit it on the concrete. And then I go outside and I look at this transformer box. I'm like, the concrete's like 3 feet away from it. How did you fall on the concrete? He's like, I was jumping to try to get in the tree. And I'm like, all right, we're going to the ER because his wrist was also like hanging all weird. And I was like, oh,
Oh
God.
Sheesh. Ivy, I have one more question to ask before we close off the pod.
Awesome. Yes.
Where do you see yourself going with your writing career?
I'm really hoping to eventually teach creative writing in college and continue publishing books. I at least have 3 projects that are coming out this year, and then I have the second book planned for each of those as well.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's awesome. I'm taking a creative writing course for the first time this semester in college, and it's awesome. I feel like I'm learning so much. I'm getting to read a lot of cool short stories, and I feel like I'm getting to grow as an author, and just by having like this practice of like we'll just do like small assignments like every week, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you'll have a
Yeah,
blast.
I'm getting right now I'm taking an advanced genre um study class, and we're going through like each of the genres. We're going through like romance, YA, speculative fiction, and then what was the last one we learned about? I don't remember the last one we learned about. I'll figure that out in a few weeks. But it's like really interesting to delve into the differences between the genres and then all the subgenres that can be a part of any of the main genres, and it's just and the plotting points. Like I'm like I just started writing. I did not know how to plot,
You just took
but
off
you
with
learn.
it.
I mean,
That's probably
I
why.
feel that I'm 100% a planster. Like I get the broad strokes of an outline down, and then I just see what happens.
Yeah, that was me too, but I've like started actually trying out to outline and plot, and my has gone from really bad to, decent. I'm not gonna say it's like really good because I'm in the stage of where this is trash. Why am I publishing this?
Yes, the infamous imposter syndrome that every writer gets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And it sucks, but I think that's something we all have to live with, even if we get all the validation we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll never
I
stop.
I could probably have like 1,000 positive reviews and like one negative, and everyone's like, I was right, it's terrible.
Yeah.
No, I've got 3 2-star review or 2-star ratings on Amazon, and it bothers me.
Hmm.
Yeah, my husband's like, don't read your reviews. Like, don't do it. I know you. You're going to obsess. And I'm just like, no, you don't. You don't know me.
You don't know me.
That's
Married
awesome.
for like, we've been together for many years, but no, you don't know me.
Well, I look forward to your book coming out, and I hope that you do exceptionally well. Do you have a solid release date, or is it just April?
She said it earlier,
April 15th.
April 15th.
April 15th.
April 15th. That's right. That's right. Sorry, I bad memories.
Pay attention,
No,
Luke.
He's
I
gonna
get it.
flagellate me over this, just like he did when I got the name of the planets wrong 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, I'm bringing this back up next episode too.
Can't let anything go. Can't get away with nothing.
Andrew, you want to close this out?
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Ivy. It was great talking to you.
It was great talking to you guys as well.
We look forward to your book. Anyone that's listening, keep an eye out for Beguiled, out April 15th of this year. We'll link your socials in the description, and any other links that you would like to send us if you want us to post them. But thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. This was episode 5 of season 2 of Forbidden Radio, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace out, guys.